our podcast, This Is My Story. I'm your host, Karen Poitras, and we're going to hear about the weird reality of RAD. If you are a return listener, welcome back. It's great to have you on our podcast again. And if you're new here, this is your first time listening in, make sure you head to our channel and get introduced to what reactive attachment disorder is and what therapeutic parenting techniques we talk about by listening to our first and second episodes. And either way, if you're new or you've been here before, it's great to have you join us today. This podcast is interviews with parents, kids, and professionals who share their stories on a wide range of experiences, anything from their craziest happenings to their journeys of healing. Today is Tuesday, March 24th. You're listening to our fourth episode, and the title today is The Biggest Thing Was Just Remembering Who I Married. This is the second part of our interview with Jason and Ashley. If you haven't listened to their first part yet, head over to our channel and listen to episode number 3, which is their story about their journey through foster care and adoption and therapeutic parenting. Today we have Jason and Ashley back to do a Q&A session with us. So they've answered all kinds of great questions, anything from when they realized their kids had special needs, trauma-related behaviors, and needed a different type of parenting, to what their biggest challenge was, to what they do for self-care practices. So I'm really excited to bring this to you, and let's get into it. All right, so welcome back, and thank you for joining us again on our podcast. Do you want to give a quick recap of who you are for any new listeners we have?
I'm Ashley, and this is my husband, Jason.
Hello.
And we have 4 kids. Our 3 oldest are adopted through foster care, and our youngest was our birth daughter. And 2 of our 3 have RAD, and the other one has some attachment disorder that borderlines on RAD behavior sometimes.
And this episode, we would just want to do a Q&A and get your answers, from your perspective, having kids with trauma, kids who have reactive attachment disorder, and you're using therapeutic parenting with them. So the first question is, what made you realize your kids needed a different type of parenting?
Well, first of all, Ashley has worked with kids in so many ways at so many levels, all the way back to high school, where she would volunteer with the youth group and watching kids during church at her church on Sundays. Then that continued through college, and then she was a preschool teacher with toddlers for 2.5 years. And our first placement was 2 toddlers, right in the age that she knew really well. So she knew right away that there was something off. But in terms of parenting techniques, we went through so many classes and books and videos and seminars and all those sorts of things, on top of the training we were required to do to be foster parents, just to find something, and nothing was working. And our oldest went through 6 therapists, I think. So,
So things that just weren't normal kid behavior, kind of.
And the breaking point, as we said last episode, the breaking point was when our son was placed back with us, and we had 2 kids who would sometimes just completely flip out and go on destructive rages. And there is no third person. If one person's restraining one kid and one person's restraining the other, there's no third parent to watch our other 2 kids. And that was when we couldn't keep on doing what we were doing at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And then how did you start out on the therapeutic parenting journey? Once you found out this is what your kids needed, how was that looking to you when you started?
So we had done a little bit of classes with Empowered to Connect, which is Karen Purvis. And that was the first explanation of the trauma background with children. And I had known that she had done some camps, and I was looking for one of her camps to work with the kids because it looked like that was something that we needed. But when I started research online, there were none of the camps available anymore. And we had, our local foster community had done a webinar with Nancy Thomas, and she had popped up as offering camps. So I said to Jason, we need help. This is beyond us. We've done Love and Logic. We tried the Empowered to Connected Child things from Karen's book, and it wasn't working. So we took a week. We drove to Oregon because there was no way I was putting my kids on an airplane with as bad as things had gotten. And we spent a week getting some hands-on training because we knew we needed something more than just what someone could tell us in a class and go home and try, and our kids would throw in our face and not do.
Yeah. And then I know this changes all the time, especially for how long you've been using therapeutic parenting and with so many different kids needing kind of different levels of it. But what's your biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think what you said with different kids at different stages along it is a challenge, but the bigger one is realizing
Early on
how much you need to clear the schedule. Because when you have somewhere you need to be, the kids figure that out pretty quickly.
And they hold you.
And they'll hold that hostage against you. And so there's some practical matters there, but there's also the amount of anger and resentment you end up with. Even if you say, okay, I'm not going to let them hold me hostage, I'm just going to miss this thing, and now having to apologize to your friends for something that really you didn't have control over.
Right.
So really you need to it's how much, and it took us a while even after the camp to realize the degree to which this is necessary. But yeah, that was the biggest challenge is clearing out that. I think that's for Ashley the biggest challenge. For me, it's certainly remembering to be nurturing and soft. And I have no trouble enforcing the rules and doing things like that. But I also have to remember, they're 5 or they're 9 or they're whatever, right? There's limits to what they can do, and they need a lot of love and hugs and encouragement. So Ashley keeps me honest with that.
Yeah, that's good. And then what has been the greatest time where you've seen a difference in one or more of your kids, where it kind of like catching a glimpse of the normal healthy kid that they are or are going to be?
I would say that's been just in the past 6 months. And it's hard to pinpoint any one thing that happened that really made the change. But we did a couple things this summer that really changed for our children. Our 2 kids who are the most extreme did not go on our family vacation this summer, which was really hard for us to do. And instead of a normal family vacation, we actually went to another Nancy camp where the 2 kids who weren't being strong stayed with Nancy and her team, and we went off with the other kids and had fun during the day, but we still got to be together as a family, and we still got to have meals together and sleep together, and we still got to do vacation, but they also were very aware that they were missing out on the fun stuff.
Right.
But they'd ruined the fun so many times that we needed them to have that glimpse of, you're still part of our family and we love you, but we're not going to let you keep ruining fun. And at that camp, our daughter told us during snuggle time that she wanted to start trusting us. And she made a choice to leave behind her not trusting us. And it was not a quick, flip a switch. It took time, and there were still months afterwards where she had to keep remembering that. But once she made that choice, we saw huge changes in her. And then you had mentioned some of the things with Austin.
Yeah, well, it's biggest for him because so much of the growth happened over the summer. Comparing his last week of school last spring to his first week this past fall, how much he had grown in so many ways because his anxiety level was finally coming down. So he was able to make friends with the kids that weren't in his class last year. The ones in his class last year were more of a work in progress for obvious reasons.
And he's a boy.
Yeah, and he's reading and things like that now.
He couldn't read.
Yeah, he had, his anxiety level was so high there just wasn't any room for learning to happen when he was at school, and that's finally no longer the case. So.
Wow, yeah, that's a big change for him. Yeah. And then I know there's a lot of families who have more than one kid, and some are healthy, some are not, some are almost healthy, some are not even close. What are some of the challenges of having all of your kids at different stages in their healing or attachment?
I think one of the biggest things that's been hard for me to learn is just because one of them has been healed or has already shown improvement doesn't mean they can't go backwards. And so it often feels like we're playing whack-a-mole. You know, we get one doing well and on a path to wellness, and then another one pops up. And then we get that one doing better, and the other one, it's like, wait, you were fine. You don't have to go back. And so right now, our daughter, who's not rad but is adopted, is really struggling again. And she's had some big feelings this year as she's entering adolescence. And it's been hard for us to realize, okay, we have to really step up our game in therapeutic parenting and call her on every single little thing because she's not doing well, even though she was. And I think that's hard to remember when you've seen so much progress, that sometimes you have to go back to the stricter structure if they need it.
And I think for me, the hardest, I have no trouble being strict. I just, like I said, it's the other half that I struggle with. But the hardest thing for me is, obviously we want to do things as a family. And so, you know, we'll plan things and we say, okay, these kids are doing well, we can do that. But we have this one kid or this other two kids, or sometimes these three kids. Can they do that? Can they not do it? What stage are they at? Trying to plan that and you know, saying, you know, where are the places they are struggling? Because it feels like we have to, you know, make a grid of, here are all the activities, here are all the kids, who can we check the boxes for which activities?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have one major family trip coming up in March, and we thought, okay, everyone's strong enough and healthy enough and we can do it. And now we have one who's not, and we're like, okay, now what?
I mean, we have a backup plan because I love reading. So if we go on a trip and I end up in the hotel room reading with whatever kids aren't strong, I'm totally fine with that.
That sounds like my kind of vacation.
Exactly. That's my kind of vacation.
Yeah. And then just to add on to that question, what's the challenge been having three kids who aren't or weren't attached and one biological kid who is attached? What's it been like working with those two different things?
There have been some blessings in it. One thing that I think was really great for our two girls when we had our baby is they got to see what we would have done with them. And I really highlighted that. Like, oh, if I'd had you as a baby, this is what I would have done. And that they got to be part of that. In fact, our youngest was the first person that our oldest ever attached to, because she was 6 when her baby sister was born. And she did not love me. She did not love her dad. She did not love her bio sister. But that baby who had done nothing to her, she loved that baby. And the first time I'd ever seen remorse and regret in her eyes was when her little sister at 18 months was toddling behind her and she slammed a door and caught her in the door. It was the first time she ever showed sadness that she'd hurt someone else's body in 7 years of life.
Wow.
And I was actually thankful for that, as weird as that sounds, that, oh, you actually care that you hurt her. We can work with this. There is empathy in you.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other side of that is our youngest has seen some pretty horrible things in our house, and she has picked up some of that bad behavior. She still throws tantrums at age 7 because she's seen her siblings do it.
Mm-hmm. It's not like she's untraumatized. She's had all this violence in the house from day one. She's seen her sister attack her mom. You know, she's
had her brother leave.
So yeah, it's not trauma free, but though I think it's also good to see, you know, that even when you do have attachment from day one, it's not like the kids are perfect, obviously. I mean, you know that, of course, but seeing it is also nice.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what are some practices you do, self-care practices, to be the best self, to be rested up and able to deal with all of this stuff for your family?
We go out on a date every Sunday night. Sometimes we're so exhausted, we'll just get dinner and that's it. But
yeah,
it's still time for the two of us, and it's set aside for every Sunday. I go to the gym and make time for that, and I also have a standing Dungeons and Dragons game twice a month.
Nice.
I have a mom's group I go to. It's a group of friends. We used to do preschool group together, and so we've continued that. we were joking that it's hard for me to find things to do for myself, so I often make my trips to Starbucks so that I have that treat.
Yeah.
Another thing that I finally realized, we homeschool our two oldest, and the past year we've been hiring tutors to help with them because I finally realized I don't have to do it all. And not being the teacher as well as the mom has been really helpful in my relationship with the girls. So for our oldest, who's now in junior high, I don't do any of the school stuff for her. I get to just be mom, and I can check in and be, do you have stuff that needs to be done for your teachers? But she's not turning anything into me anymore. So that's helped. And that's also made our relationship better for me to take that out of our role.
Yeah. And then a lot of people want to know how to help parents out, what they can do that's going to actually be helpful and, not harm the attachment they're working on or the bonding or the structure. So what's the most helpful thing someone has done for you to help you out with therapeutic parenting?
I think the big thing is anything you would do for anyone who's going through a stressful life situation, right? Bringing a meal, offer to bring a meal, say, hey, can I bring a meal? Check if kids might have dietary restrictions often if they,
but for example, I was going to school and I was gone one day a week, and it was hard enough for Jason to come home and take over parenting to then have to get dinner on the table. So for that season of like 2 months, we had people sign up and bring us a meal every day. And it was hard to ask for that because it wasn't like, we had a newborn or a sick person. It was just me going to school. But it really helped to have that dinner provided once a week so I could just go to school without the worry, and he could come home and just be the dad.
And people have done that for us on other times too, because it's not like she's sitting on the couch eating bonbons with the kids we have.
Exactly.
So it might be possible that she has spent the whole day putting out a fire by the time 6 o'clock rolls around and she hasn't had time to cook. So when people offer, once a week, bring a casserole or something, it's amazing how much that really helps, because I think Ashley has sometimes felt like she's a failure as a mom because she doesn't have a cooked dinner on the table. And I say, no, I know what you've been going through.
Exactly.
Who has not cooked dinner.
So that was a simple one. The biggest one that anyone has ever done is a friend of mine took our respite DVD that Nancy made called Give Me a Break. She watched it, she took it to heart, and she watched our Not Strong kids while we went on our summer trip for 10 days.
Awesome.
That was amazing. Now, that is not for the faint of heart. I have pictures of her holding our son's door closed while he's raging in his room. I mean, she stepped up her game. But, that was an amazing friend. And when she saw that DVD, that was her wake up of, I had no idea what you guys were going through. So that takes a really special someone. But if you're willing to, and that's the thing is you have to be willing to do the therapeutic parenting method. Other people who've come in and helped who haven't always watched my kids, but if there's any way that they could come in and help clean dishes, simple chores when they were little really helped, because it was so much just to parent them that to do anything else was hard.
Yeah, it's a full-time job just with one, and then you have more than one to add into all that.
Yeah, and it's just mentally and emotionally exhausting, and that's what I don't think people get. So you're like, okay, well, you're just home sitting with your kid waiting for them to get strong, but I can't leave the room and go run a load of laundry. I might be able to do dishes, but it might take me 3 hours to get through one sink of dishes. So whereas if you come in and do the dishes for me, I'm not carrying that once my kids are in bed, and I can just have my total attention be on, is my kid finally strong enough to process and move on? So
exactly.
It does help a lot.
I want to throw one more helpful thing.
Okay.
You probably will have lots of questions about fostering and adopting. Try to find a time when the kids aren't around to ask them, or ask them a message maybe, because if you're asking, questions that might involve our kids' trauma while they're in earshot, because they will come and listen because they're curious and they're vigilant. You ask when they're not around, or send a text or an email. We're totally happy to answer the questions. Just rather not do it right in front of our kids.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I don't think a lot of people think about that. Yeah. And then what's something that, or I don't know if something, but what have you done to work together with the parenting to avoid your kids triangulating between the two of you?
I think the biggest one for me, I think it helped that I saw how extreme some of my daughter's behaviors were. So I had a baseline for when she says tantrum, she doesn't mean like screaming for 5 minutes. But
Right.
the biggest thing is just remembering who it was I married. It wasn't my kids.
Yeah.
It's this woman who's putting up with all of their garbage for 8 hours, and she will snap at me sometimes at the end of the day because she's been holding it together for 8 hours, and I get that.
I think it's really easy if you're not around it all the time, whether you're a family member, a friend, or a spouse, to think, oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, the kid's so great with me. And it's like, you're not seeing all of it. If you're not with them 24/7, or, the one home for 8 hours a day, you're not seeing the full picture. They can hold it together for a couple hours. They can't hold it together all week.
Yeah.
And to be questioned by outsiders was hard enough. I was so thankful that I was never questioned by my husband. He believed me when I said it was bad. He supported me. And when our kids tried to come between us, he would just stop it and remind them, like, I love you guys, but I love your mom. And one of the things we tell our kids all the time is, if we've done our job right, you guys will move out, but we're stuck with each other forever. And we're going to keep this relationship as the prime relationship for us so that we have a strong foundation for them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. All right, so that was all the questions I had. Thank you for answering them all and letting parents hear, the answers to the questions that I think a lot of them ask. All right, that concludes our interview with Jason and Ashley. If you didn't get to hear the first part, make sure you head to our channel and listen to episode 3, which is the first part of their interview. Next week, we're going to be doing an interview with one of their daughters, and she's going to share her healing story with us, the work she's done to get healthy and strong, and some of the struggles she's gone through. She talks about schoolwork and bonding with her parents and what's really helped her. And the progress she's made in the last year has been so incredible. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you for joining us today on this episode. And check out our description for information on our podcast, information about the RADish Ranch. And make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And turn on the notifications so you can get our episodes straight to your inbox every Tuesday. Also look for us on social media. So we have a Facebook page and an Instagram account that you can follow. And we post great information on there on a more or less daily basis. The music on this podcast was written and recorded by French Press, and we've used it with their permission. This podcast is brought to you by the RADish Ranch. I'm your host, Karen Poitras, and I will see you next week. Stay awesome.